What's happening, everyone? Before this next leg of podcast show starts, this is a reminder to you not to be a minge bag. Go over to Patreon, sign up for £1 a week and take advantage of all the Patreon perks. It is the Patreon that pays. We have a betting show on a Saturday, which the postman here is picking winners every single week.
Yeah, the betting show comes out Saturday mornings, covers UFC and boxing, footy when we're in the footy season. But yeah, we're winning on a weekly basis. I can't remember the last week we didn't find some sort of winner. So yeah, as Andy says, don't be a minge bag, come and get involved. And as I say, it's one of the best communities that you could be a part of, isn't it?
It's a belter. As well as the betting show on a Wednesday, me and Jord have a chat. That's where you might have seen on our Insta Reels about crocs, about harpooning people at the end of the night, all that kind of chat that goes on. And even better, every single Wednesday we do a raffle draw, and our sponsors Montrex give £100 gift voucher away just for being on Patreon. No better time to join. There's 30 plus episodes already that you can go back and watch. Again, no better time. Get involved. Don't be a minge bag. £1 a week, and we'll see you there. Right, what's happening, everyone? It's the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant.
It's me, Jordan Neal.
First off, apologies we're not in the studio for anyone watching on YouTube, but if you haven't noticed, in the first 10 seconds of this, Jord has got the lurgy. If that's what you want to call it. I don't know, sinus infection, chest infection.
I'm just an infected individual, to be honest.
How are you feeling? For those who aren't on Patreon, we had to. You were that bad. We didn't even do a Patreon, which is unusual for us. So it's a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some very, very suspect lighting that's bailing me out a little bit here, but I got some bad skin now. A couple of infections, load of antibiotics, and a struggling voice. But I don't know if you can tell by my eyes, I haven't been sleeping much. But missing one show is bad enough. We can't miss two, so we had to make it work. But I'm not gonna lie, me this I hear that on the this one might close after like half an hour, and then follow. But yeah, we got enough to talk about and get a good shout, and then hopefully back to normal. What?
It feels nice, but not for the first time being not the only disabled one.
Mate, honest to God, like I don't know what. Not to like, I know this is a sports show, but like I don't really get ill. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But the last few days, like, oh my God, I know, like men and me in particular, we can be dramatic, but I'm telling you, mate, I was having conversations with higher gods there for a few hours at least. I was in a bad way, but hopefully now my medication's starting to kick in, and I'm on my way back, hopefully.
Good stuff. Right, let's crack on then. So big thanks again to Montrex. They're our sponsors. Links in the bio. We've got Ver Clothing. You get 20% off them. And also Health Kick Kitchen. We've also got my supplement company, German Farmer. You get 10% off them if you type in Leggy. Again, all the links are in the bios. All Scouse companies, all been supporting the pod. So, boss, if you could support them too. Right. Into sports, the big question, probably all the fans of you and the Sportscast is, have you been watching the World Cup?
No, I don't even know what's going on. Do you know what? Despite me, that will be my last cough, hopefully. Despite me thingy stance, when you're stuck in bed for like 12 hours and there's 4 games a day on, despite me missus going, you're only doing this because there's football on. I was going, I don't even want to watch it, but I'm going to have to. But yeah, I'm surprised you're not singing England. You're a closet England fan, you know.
I am, yeah. I am. I only hate England because of the fan base.
You just hate England because everyone else hates them by ours.
I hate them because of the fan base, and you know, I go to Anfield every single week and I watch every set of fans turn up there and slag Scousers off. And I'm all for the banter. I'm all for having a bit of a laugh. But when they're singing about Hillsborough and calling you murderers, when they're, you know, and the whole food bank and stuff like that, it's like, yeah. I find it hard then to stand next to these people and be like, yay, come on, England. That's why I don't like England. However, when it comes to the football and the players, I think, yeah, listen, I might be on my own, but I think it'd be good to see England win the World Cup.
It'd be good to see, but it's not happening.
I think, even now, I think they were playing Iran. So, you know what I mean? But
that's the operative word, they were playing Iran.
I know, but you can only play what's in front of you. And you know what? We put 6 goals past them. They did concede a couple, which, you know, you could say Iran shouldn't be scoring 2, although 1 was a dubious penalty. But, listen, put 6 goals past them.
Look, the thing with England is it's just a classic thing now of we beat Iran. Everyone just let's get carried away. We're going to win the World Cup. We're going unbeaten until America 2026 and all that stuff. Like they got as good a chance as anyone, but history tells you that big tournaments just aren't for England, and I don't see that changing.
What I did watch the England game. What I did think was impressive about them was the fact that they're bringing on the likes of Grealish, Foden, and Rashford. I mean, to bring those 3 players on, you got some attacking depth in your squad there. I thought that was good of them to be able to do that. But like you say, the defensive frailties, Maguire always seems to play all right for England, and then he had a header where he hit the post. Bless me. A header where he hit the post, and then for their goal, he just got caught napping and just got absolutely spun, and then there you go.
He just is what he is, Maguire, isn't he? And I think the problem he's probably got, or England have probably got, is they might win all 3 games in the group, but when you look at you see what Spain have done. I haven't actually seen the Spain game, but just looking at that, like if you come up against a proper attacking team who've got ideas and start putting people in certain little spaces that England are just not going to be able to deal with, I think that's when they'll have problems, because as good as John Stones' career and trophy cabinet looks, again he's not the greatest out and out defender in the world. And I just think if you then come up against one of them teams who are a little bit cuter than maybe Iran or USA are going to be. I know USA ran Wales pretty close, but they're generally just they're just athletic lads, them, aren't they? If we all put it, they're just lads who can run quite well. Wales have obviously got a chance if Gareth Bale gets any sort of free kick or gets a chance himself. Well, I think England's frailties will probably be brought to the fore later on in the tournament if they get there. But I'm a staunch non-England fan. I think if they got any chance of doing anything, they just got to build it around Bellingham, mate. He's about as I didn't see England's game fully either, just due to the fact I was having a conversation with the big man. But you can't get away from what he's doing, both club level, now international level. At 19 years old, England might have what people would call a generational talent. So I think if they've got a chance of progressing in a big tournament like this, they need to do everything they can to build it around Bellingham, because he's just special, isn't he?
Did you not think his header had those vibes of Stevie G in Istanbul?
Yeah, Opie thought that as well, so that he thinks, oh my God, I'm going to go and play for Liverpool.
Imagine. I mean, he is a player. I think what's more astounding is his age, 19 years of age.
It's not the sorry to cut you off, it's not his age in terms of because there's loads of good 19-year-olds. He looks like a man, mate. He walks, he's a big, massive unit. He's like a full-grown man.
Yeah, and I just think his temperament, when he's talking off the camera and stuff like that, you just think he's got a wise head on him, on those shoulders, and it's you can just see him going right to the very top, can't you?
That move to Germany's just been a stroke of genius, man, because I know a couple of players have done it now, but he's proven to everyone that you don't have to. It's not just about the Prem, you know what I mean? I know he's going to come back to Premier League, but if you aren't getting, I know he had chances to go to Premier League teams, but although all of them would go now, oh yeah, we would have put him straight in our first team. If they signed him from Birmingham, chances are they probably wouldn't have. They'd have had him on the bench and stuff like that. Yeah, whereas he went to Germany and he's played, I don't know, it's 2.5, 3 seasons or whatever it is now, or 2 seasons of competitive games every week. He's captain of them, when circumstances allow. He's got trophies in the cabinet. He's probably got more big game experience than most of the England team. He's 19.
Yeah, those Champions League games he's been fortunate enough to play in. I've seen a big debate about whether he goes to a Premier League club after Dortmund or whether he goes to Bayern Munich. The debate they were having is it worth blooding him in at Bayern for just a couple more years as well? And again, because he is so young, he could theoretically do 3, 4, 5 years at Bayern and then come to the Prem when he's 24 and have 10 years in the Prem. So he could do it all if he wanted to.
I mean, the only thing he's got is that he can go to wherever he wants. There's not a big club or what you'd call a big club who won't be ready to roll out absolutely every penny they've got to get him. Like, and I include, Madrid in that as well. I'm sure they'll be sniffing around. But as you say, I think the most impressive thing is like the way he talks, and he just doesn't come across as someone who's gonna. I know we had this chat the other week about Dele Alli and Trent Alexander-Arnold a little bit now. He doesn't have that thing of like, looking like he'd ever check out or whether the life would get to him or that. You know what I mean? He just looks like, like a very intelligent lad who's just playing footy and taking it for what it is. And I think it's just, when you've got the ability he's got with that temperament, it's just the recipe for an absolute superstar.
Yeah, no, I think, like I say, I hope, unlike you, I do hope they go all the way, and it'd be great to see him do well.
I hope they go all the way. Like, I just hope to get beat in the final.
You're horrible, you lad.
I mean, the ideal scenario for me would be England final loss.
Why?
Because I don't want England to win, but all me friends and that who do, because so they'd be like, we're going to do it. And then it'll be the last minute of just heartbreak. Why? And then I can have my moment then of just, I told you boys.
So why do you not want them to win?
I just despise everything that they stand for.
So you're just jumping on the whole Scouse bandwagon of win or England?
Nah, it's not even about being Scouse, because I've actively said on our show, like this whole, I have a big thing against people who call people wolves, like it does me head in.
But why do you want them to win the World Cup then?
Everything that the England national team stand for, from as you said, from the way the fans behave, to the national anthem, to the monarchy, to Gareth Southgate, to everything about them, I hate.
What's Gareth Southgate done to you?
I couldn't think of anyone I'd rather not have a bevy with.
Lad, he's actually a really nice fella,
I'm sure he is, but he just looks like a geography teacher, and he does me in.
I've had a coffee with him a few times, lad, he's sound.
Well, next time you do it, just say, listen, me co-host Jordan said you're a beaut. But no, just joking. But everything that England stand for as a team, and like, as a country,
any valid reasons there. You've said as a country, right? But that's not as a football team, really, is it?
It is, because what a national team represents is the country's like outlook, doesn't it? That's what it is. The one of the same. There's nothing about that England team that I look at and go, I identify with that. I actively want to be a part of that. Because there's nothing, like, I would not go to an England game to be surrounded by the people who support England. You'd never catch me singing the national anthem. You'd never catch me kneeling to no special family.
What about the women's game though? The women's England team?
I've got no interest in it. Good luck to them, but I've got no interest in it. Like, what they done is just not for me. Like, I just don't. The way, like, for example, when you see the Welsh team singing their national anthem, and you see, the camera pans into the crowd, and men and women and children, they're all singing it with absolutely everything they've got, and they've got a real sense of pride of their country. When you ask me, do I feel the same way about England? My answer is distinctly no. So I can't pretend to like them or to agree with what they stand for. Do you know what I mean? It's just because I was born in this part of the world. But that said, the Welsh national anthem is incredible.
I'm going to disagree with you, lad, and just going to want to get behind them, lads. Get behind the boys.
You're just a glory hunter, though.
How am I?
If ITV1 picked up, like, I don't know, the handball championships, and there was a chance for you to, like, get involved somehow, you'd be like, come on, England, the handball team.
It's not know what it's about. You get swept along with it.
Good luck to you. And I'm not saying you're doing anything. Do you know what the hardest part of this is? I'm trying with every ounce of energy I've got to, like, participate in an argument with you here, and it's taking everything I've got. But no, it's just, like, I understand. That's why people who do like England, I don't, like, actively say, oh, you're wrong. I just can't do it. It's just not for me. But some of my mates, like, love it. Like, they've got England flags outside their house and all that. Good luck to them. But you've got them little flags in your car, haven't you?
I haven't, no. I think the only other team that's impressed me was France and Spain. I think some of the other big hitters, obviously Germany got beat, Argentina got beat, Holland didn't look great. I know Brazil are going to play Thursday night. Obviously, we haven't played yet while we're recording. Uruguay look like they're going to finish 0-0 with South Korea. Belgium only won 1-0. It looks like it's wide open, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of the players are looking like they're playing in a Winter World Cup. Like, you know, I think them 2 to 3 weeks that you have from the end of a season to a big tournament, I think they do loads for like not only like rest and recovery, but also like anticipation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think when national teams are together for like 2 to 3 weeks, the adrenaline builds and like, you know, the thing of togetherness.
Yeah.
Whereas I think now it's been a case of like season's over, get on a plane, go to here, game. You know what I mean? There's not been any like,
you know, they were playing in the Prem last week. Do you know what I mean?
there's not been any like, you know, time to gel as a team or to like get any ideas. And I think a couple of teams have shown that, you know, especially Belgium. They just looked like a gang of lads who've been put on the pitch to play. And then, you know, you look at Canada and they were, although they were distinctly less talented, they were playing as a team. You know, they were like running for each other and stuff like that. And I think, you know, the Argentina results a little bit just like that. I think that's just the footy gods moment that, like, when you look at, you know, Argentina started well, scored a goal, have a couple disallowed, and then, you know, Saudi Arabia scored 2 goals. Like, I think that was just meant to happen. You know what I mean? I don't think
4 goals, by the way.
That's what I mean. I just think, for whatever reason, in that moment on that day, Saudi Arabia were meant to win, and I think I'd still expect Argentina to go very, very deep in the tournament, but I think maybe Belgium might be the big disappointment, because much like England, they've got this. You know, this is not me criticising England at all, by the way. Much like England, they've had that whole golden generation thing for years, haven't they? And, you know, they're still playing with the same players who were meant to be superstars like 10 years ago. You know, I know Hazard was starting. I don't remember the last time I even remember Eden Hazard's name being spoke about. You know what I mean? Like, he's been finished for years.
Croatia were a bit like that as well. You know, got all these Modric and stuff, and it just didn't really click. And yeah, I think some of the bigger names, they kind of coming to the end of the career like it does. You know, it doesn't last forever for everyone, does it? So it's one of those World Cups where it's the dining out of a lot of the big players.
Yeah,
expecting them all to put on this show when the reality is they're all, you know, mid-30s now, and this is the last hurrah for them.
I think Brazil are in a good spot because they've basically seen everyone, haven't they? They've seen everything that's in front of them, and I think if they can pop out and have a good result against Serbia, then they'll probably fancy themselves. But I think there's a lot of disrespect towards like the smaller countries as well. Like, you know, if you look at Germany's result to Japan, like, these aren't bad teams. You know what I mean? They're not like terrible players or like, you know, shouldn't be on the pitch with them. Whereas, like, obviously, you know, the likes of Saudi and, you know, even Iran to a certain point, although they're ranked to a certain point in the world, the likes of like Japan and South Korea, and these are historically teams who've always had like decent teams. You know what I mean? They've always been competitive. So I think a lot of it's down to like, yes, underperforming, but I think there is definitely a case of underestimating these smaller countries just because, you know, by name they're playing a bigger team. So yeah, I wouldn't.
Germany. Oh, did you see how Japan left the dressing room after the game? So anyone who's not seeing it, they basically just, you see it a lot in the rugby world, don't you? They just cleaned up the dressing room. Looked like they brushed everything up, left it immaculate. And you think like it's the little things like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't cost nothing, but
no. The fans, when we were talking about fans earlier, though, did you see the fans doing it in the stands, and then someone was asking them why, and they were like, "Where are we from? We don't leave." Like, it's sort of like that, you know. Isn't that a military thing, like the leave no trace thing? Yeah. And I think that's like a lot of what they do. It's just like, you know,
the fans were doing that as well.
The fans done the stand, yeah. Oh. And they said, you know, where we're from, where you go, you take what you had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if we, you know, I really don't want to spend every week just like crucifying Qatar for what it is, because, you know, I think we're all bored of that, aren't we? But like, if in a World Cup which is clouded by so much rubbish, like there's still a few little life lessons there that we can all take. Do you know what I mean? Because if we were all to treat football in that way, you know, it genuinely would remain like what they call a beautiful game, because like you'd have a great representative off the pitch as well as on it. But yeah, man, it was a cool thing to see that, because there's been obviously so much negative shit coming out of Qatar, it was good to see a little bit of positivity like that. Like
one of the other bits of kind of weird, I wouldn't call it maybe negativity, but it was just weird, was the official attendances.
yeah,
I don't know where they're getting some of them from. So I think on one of the stadiums it was like 50,000, and then the stadium announcer like it was 60,000 or something, or 57,000. It's like, hang on, those amounts of people couldn't even fit in the stadium anyway.
yeah.
And then that's not counting the fact that when the camera's panning around, there are empty seats everywhere. So just bizarre, isn't it? Just really bizarre.
For that bit, that's annoying. The bit that I'm proper enjoying is like the proper rogue refs. Like someone had it on like 12 minutes the other day.
Yeah,
12 minutes added on.
A lot of time added on, isn't there? The other thing I seen, which I thought was interesting, was there was a Danish TV reporter who had a rainbow armband on.
Oh yeah.
Basically getting told, to take it off. And I thought that was really poor by the FA when they got told they couldn't wear them. They got threatened with the yellow card. I just thought it would have made it even brilliant, right? Even more brilliant if Harry Kane starts the match, he gets a yellow card, right? So then he gives the armband then to Jordan Henderson, who then gets a yellow card, gives it to someone else, and then what a spectacle that would be if before the game this armband with a rainbow on saying "One Love" was getting passed around the whole team, and as it's getting passed around, the referee's just following them around, giving them a yellow card.
Yeah,
it'd be brilliant TV for one, hilarious, and would shine a light on the absolute ridiculousness of this whole Qatar anti-gay kind of, it's just bullshit. And I think the FA were just massive shithouses by not letting them wear them still.
I think they've shown everything they was, but I know Germany done that sort of hands across the mouth thing, but I think Roy Keane summed it up for me in terms of like, don't you are the show, you know what I mean, as the players. This doesn't happen without you. Like, I know they're going, we can sort of, and even seen Van Dijk say something about I don't like playing with the yellow card, and I know the players are all about what happens on the pitch, but at the end of the day, mate, if you were to get a yellow card as Harry Kane, like, for what you're doing, it's undoubtedly worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the odds on Harry Kane getting another yellow? I know he dives and that, but it's not like, it wasn't like a sanction. It wasn't you're getting banned for games, or you can. It was a yellow card. It was not. But I think the whole thing about, like, I know more and more is coming out, but I think we're now building this narrative of, like, people who are out there going, oh, respect the culture. The West is not perfect. Nobody's saying Western culture is perfect, but also you can't call clear homophobia a culture. It's oppression. It's not a culture, is it?
I know.
Like, and I think that's the annoying bit. But I think what's creeping out of the woodwork now is, like, the fact that it was never going to be allowed to be against it in any way. I know they were saying, come here, you can be free. Come here, you get treated fairly. Players can make a stance, or what, even down to the fact of, like, beer and selling alcohol and all that stuff. All that's playing out is that was never going to happen. This was going to Qatar, and it was on their rules. And I think, for someone who's completely against everything they stand for, I actually think this whole tournament might work against that part of, like, it ever going back there, because I don't think they expected as much backlash. And I think also, I don't know whether what they believed would take off in that part of the world has actually transpired, because people aren't going to the games. They're giving tickets away. They can't fill the stadiums. Yeah. I just don't think the ideas they had have really transpired into, like, actual real terms. So yeah, I think although it's not a great sort of moment for the sport, I think going forward it might be a good thing, because I think America and I think it's America and Canada in 2026 is not. It's got a real, Mexico. Sorry, they've got a real opportunity to, like, make it absolutely huge and do, amazing stuff with it. And I know people will go then, like, oh, okay, well, American culture is not perfect either. And I know it's not, but if you want to keep, like, the thing is, like, we're at a point now where, like, just because we live in a fucking culture of over information. No matter where the World Cup goes now, everyone's going to go, well, they don't allow abortion, or okay, well, it's in this country. All right, well, you can't drink Coke over there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we're just going to end up in a horrible vicious cycle like that. But yeah, I think in terms of football teams, America, Canada, and the USA, I've got an opportunity to probably have the biggest World Cup ever. Whatever, America, Canada, and Mexico. I've got the chance to have the biggest footballing World Cup ever, really.
No, I agree. And like I said to you the other week when I was, half taking the piss out of you, you've got to be so careful if you're going to put your flagpole there and stand on it, because there's hypocrisy everywhere, like you say. Yeah. There's no doubt will be huge kind of movements in America saying about abortion. You made a good point there. What's stopping them, fans getting together before games in the next World Cup saying, abortion rights and this and that. So,
yeah,
no one's perfect. Do you know what I mean? And again, but you've at least got to be open to change and having the conversations. Simply just saying you're not doing that because we say, and it's our culture, it doesn't really sit well for me.
No, I think that's right, and I think that's why I was trying to make the point of it's not about. I think off the pitch is dominated now, but I think on the pitch as well, this is not at the moment not the spectacle that Qatar hoped it would be, and that's why I think hopefully it can get back to what happens on the football pitch, and it can be celebrated for that. But yeah, I think we're in obviously it's a culturally a very difficult period, just all over the place. But I just hope that by the end of the World Cup we're just talking about our stuff on the pitch rather than off it, because as I said before, I am against it, but it's starting to get boring now because for example, there could be a worldy goal or a worldy game, and it'll always be oversighted. Do you know what I mean? And I think we're close to being in a position where no matter what happens in football in general, there'll just be a bigger talking point off the pitch, and then the game's gone. Then you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Away from the World Cup, then you had a few things happen. We had Ronaldo and Man United have agreed to terminate the contract and part ways. I think obviously everyone just thinks he's a cunt now, basically. But I think in time, his legacy will be fine. I just think at the moment people need to just kind of calm down a bit on it and stuff, and each go and kind of cool off, if you like. I think in years to come, though, I think you look at all your favourite players, you forget that they were knobs at times. Louis Suarez is one of the best players I've ever seen. And I've got fond memories of him. You forget that he refused to play and was training with the kids. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Steven Gerrard, one of my absolute heroes, idols. You forget he nearly went to Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? He had his head turned. He comes out and honestly says it. So, and they're two players that I, adore now. And I think that'll be the same with Ronaldo. In years to come, people will be talking about the time when Ronaldo won the Champions League, when he won the league titles he's won. And I think at the moment, they just need to go to separate ways, which they now have done. I think Man United are happy that they've saved £500,000 a week for the next 6 months. Ronaldo's happy that no team will have to pay any compensation to United. The big question now, though, for me is where does he go? Because I don't think I think he's too big to go to the MLS. Well, I don't even think he can go to the MLS, can he? Because of his
suspect
misdemeanors. I think he's too big to go to Saudi Arabia, even though there's a £350 million offer there. I actually think there's an outside chance that Ronaldo could go to Newcastle.
Do you? Yeah?
You think about it, they're on the brink of maybe Europa qualification. I don't think they'll get top 4 as it stands, but they are sitting pretty.
It's a great shout.
And I just think if he gets offered it, he's goals. He's guaranteed goals, and if he's the one to fire them into the Champions League, I mean, I think the links that he's got to Saudi Arabia as well, Newcastle, and the money that they've got, Saudi have already put an offer in for him, I think, and stuff, or some Saudi team had. I just think it wouldn't shock me if he went there.
Do you know what? I hadn't even thought about it, but you bang on. It wouldn't shock me either. That's crazy. Like, probably the only other team that I thought of was if they've got this big grand plan to have him and Messi in the same team, and PSG done that. But I don't know whether I think they're too ambitious to really have these little games now, aren't they? Like they're actually trying to win, Champions Leagues. And when you're talking about strategies and teams and winning games and leagues, you're not going to be able to play Messi and Ronaldo in the same team a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? So I think Newcastle's a great shout. I hadn't even thought about that, but I think he'd like that as well, because
I don't think he'd like living there, to be fair.
He wouldn't, though, would he? He'd just live where he lives now.
Yeah, probably just get a helicopter in.
Helicopter every day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like I think he'd like that, because I think he's longing to be the man, isn't he? He's longing to be like, you know, he turns up every Saturday and, you know, he plays no matter what, which has been his career for 99% of the time. And I think if he was to go to Newcastle, there'd be no doubt that he'd play every game and that, you know, he'd be sort of the main man. And I think he'd like that. But, I mean, for what he's done, I think he was very close to tarring his legacy, but I think he's cut ties, or they've cut ties, at just about the right time. And I think the fact that there's a big takeover and all this stuff around United now will probably allow him to slip out the back door and for this to be conveniently forgot about. But yeah, it's probably exciting times now for United fans, because, you know, they look like they're going to get rid of the Glazers and stuff like that. But in terms of them getting a new owner, Liverpool looking for new owners, and Newcastle obviously with massive owners, I think there's a real chance that there's a big shake-up in British football, really.
Yeah, no, it could be really interesting. Bringing it back to home then, Liverpool and Everton. I've seen Everton had a couple of injuries on the tour of Australia. While Andy Lonergan's out there still living his best life.
My man.
That was funny. Jordan sent me a tweet or a screenshot this week of just someone saying, Andy Lonergan, what a man, what a career, what a life.
He was climbing the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah, I mean,
honest to God, when I grow up, I want to be Andy Lonergan.
He's winning Champions League with Liverpool 1 minute and then climbing the Sydney Opera House with Everton the next. I mean, what a life.
He made his first appearance for Everton over there.
Did he? Yeah.
5-1 victory, and he was skipper.
Well, they just had, I think they sent Anthony Gordon and someone else home, didn't they? So they've got a few injuries.
Tom Davis, I think.
Yeah, so they've got a few injuries. I've not heard any transfer kind of rumours around them. But again, I think that if Frank Lampard wants to be doing anything, I wouldn't be bloody paying for Andy Lonergan to go up to Sydney Opera House. I'd be looking for players. Do you know?
I mean, I'm sure he is, but like, you know, do you know what? I've seen like a really large amount of Everton fans going over to Australia for that tour. Like,
really? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like on Twitter and stuff, and I'm thinking, like, I love footy and that, but like, just you know, just dropping everything and just nipping over to Australia for a friendly. Yeah. Some life these fellas have got, and women. But yeah, I think they definitely need some reinforcements. But it's a tricky time, isn't it? Because most agents don't want to talk about the players moving because they're in a World Cup. Anyone worth going for is probably at the World Cup. Like, it's a tough moment because, you know, even closer to home with us, we need players, but it's who do you sign? Do you know what I mean?
I've seen not so much the signings. It was a bit concerning that the guy who took over from Michael Edwards,
Julian Ward,
he's now signalled his intention to leave at the end of the season. He's only been in the job 6 months. And he's already, so that's a little bit like, you know, is it the same? You know, Michael Edwards wants to leave for one reason or another. Now this guy wants to leave for one reason or another. Is it the same reason? Do you know what I mean? What's going on?
To be honest, for me, it sort of looks like I think there's a lot going on that we probably don't know about in terms of takeovers and higher up and stuff. Because if you look at the people that are leaving, it's people that were tied quite closely to this like Moneyball revolution. Do you know what I mean? They were put in certain positions that were created because of the way Liverpool worked as a club. I seen Paul Joyce, who's obviously a decent journalist, said that Liverpool were reconsidering their strategic development or whatever that's called in terms of how they're going to be run. So when you get news like that, and then you get people leaving who are in specific positions that were created by the Moneyball way of working, to me, that suggests either they know something we don't, or they've got an inkling that whoever's coming in is about to run the club in a very, very different way. You know what I mean?
I.e. just go and fucking buy everyone like that.
We're going from Moneyball to Spunkball, mate. We're just throwing it out there.
Spunkball, fucking. Definitely fucking not what I was going to say there. Like,
we are just throwing it out there, mate. Anyone?
But interesting times, mate. We've done half an hour on footy there.
I know.
Away from, mate, just before we go into like the kinds of more mainstream sports, did you see there's a guy, John McFall, he represented Team GB during the 28 Beijing Olympics. He won bronze medal in the 100 metres sprint event. He was among the 22,500 candidates who applied to the ESA. And basically, he's going to space. The ESA is the European Space Agency. And he basically applied to this ESA. He's made the list. And now he's going to be going to space.
Honest to God, when you started that conversation then, because as people know with this show, this is just two lads having a chat about footy and about things, footy, boxing, horse racing, MMA, all this stuff. When you started that sentence then, I did not expect it to finish at he is going to space.
Yep.
That sounds like something you do. That.
Well, he lost his right leg in a motorbike accident since when he was 19, back in 2005. He's 41 now. He's represented at the Beijing Olympics. He's obviously just a normal fella like me with one leg who's went and done the Paralympics, done that, and he thought, what can I do next?
Space.
And he thought, fucking, I'm going to throw my name down on this list. 22,500 people applied, and he's got on there, so he's going to space. Good luck.
The only thing I take from that is that you really need to fucking book your ideas up, to be honest.
Suddenly I'm not that cool anymore.
Yeah. I mean, going to space is about, although, those on Patreon will know when it comes to planets and space and that, there's not much, you're not getting anything out of me. But I mean, saying you've been able to go to space is quite a cool thing, like, isn't it? It's a good, it's a good icebreaker if you're ever having to hit the depths of Tinder, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the most interesting thing about you? I mean, like, I can eat 5 pot noodles in a row. What about you? I've been to space.
Well, he could do, that 2 truths and a lie, and he could say, I lost my leg in a motorbike accident. I've been to the Paralympics and I've been to space. And someone would be like, oh, and he's like, no, they're actually all true.
It's a cool way to go, like, but fair play to him, living his best life.
He is indeed. We'll just touch on tennis. My man Novak, he won his record equaling 6th.
Did anyone look into that drink yet?
I'm not asked. I told you, mate. I'm not asked. Let him do whatever he wants.
It was water.
Federer come out as well. And he said about players, about not being machines, which I thought was interesting. I read the article earlier on in the week, and I think we've spoke a little bit about this with football. This whole argument of he's on £500,000 a week. Fuck him. He should be able to run.
Yeah,
it's physically not possible. I don't care if you want £10 million a day. You can't play 90 minutes every 2 or 3 days. And Federer's just come out and said, players aren't machines. These tours and how they can kind of get ramped up, and you finish one and there's another one, and especially for the likes of the top players who are getting to the end of these tournaments, they're playing longer in them. And he just said about that, the pressure it puts on the mental health for players.
I hate that thing of like, well, he earns X amount, he should be able to do that, or like
it's the worst argument in the world.
This person, their own wages, they shouldn't feel like that. Like at the end of the day, mate, you could have whatever you want in your bank. Like me and you have had this chat loads of times. Like I've had points in my life where I've been what you'd call up, and I've felt like shit. And I've had other points in my life where I've been, very, very down, but I've never felt more happy in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like what your bank balance does, whatever extremity that might be, whether that might be 45 million or 45 quid, it doesn't change your performance as a job. Like it's a stupid argument, but I think tennis is one of the most demanding physical sports in the world, mate. Like the impact that they put on the body is brutal.
Mate, also I want to touch on one of our Patreons, Vicey, also been on the pod. Had a bit of a pop at us last week for not touching on rugby union.
I'm not listening.
So it's the World Cup going on at the minute, isn't it? You're not asked, no?
Rugby Union World Cup, is it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It was the Rugby League World Cup just finished, and I'm a big Rugby League fan, but you know me, I won't even watch rugby. I won't even watch rugby.
Actually, sorry, it's the South Africa, they're playing for the final match of the final match of the autumn kind of series. I think it is.
I just can't. Like, Vicey's a funny man, very funny man. It's too slow. It's too boring. It's like NFL. It's like NFL in reverse.
Yeah, he had to go with us last week. I need to look more into rugby union, to be honest.
No, you don't. You just need to stick with me and watch rugby league. Does Vicey watch rugby league? Do you know? Or is he staunch against it?
I'm not sure.
So there's a big northern southern divide, obviously, in rugby league and rugby union. And I've had the argument plenty of times, but you know, England obviously historically have been okay, but I just don't get it. Doesn't do anything for me. But once although we skipped the fact that the Rugby League World Cup was happening because, you know, internationals just don't do it for me. Now that you've been to a rugby league game, it will be a big part of the Sportcast when
I'll be
that returns. But yeah, good luck to Vicey and his rugby union, but you're not getting nothing out of me.
On the rugby league one as well, we had Kevin Sinfield just do his latest crazy challenge. I think he finished that last week. In between
7 and 7 or whatever.
What a man he is, and it upsets me how he's not on the level of like Ronaldo kind of influence. Do you know what I mean? It's like
shows you though, lad. Just shows you society. Like,
yeah, I know
what he's doing. Like the fact that, you know, I don't even like saying this. I was going to say a bad word then. I don't even like saying this fella's name, but the fact that Piers Morgan and them don't want to go and speak to him and understand why he's doing what he's doing and, you know, how deeply he feels about his friend to put himself through. It's like we're talking then about, I know he raised 1.2 million, but to put his body through what he's putting it through is like extreme, mate. And this is a fella who's had an 18, 19-year rugby league career. He's not like a fresh...
Not a spring chicken, is he?
No, he's got some serious damage going on like probably every quarter of his body. But I don't know, mate. There's a part of it that just like, I know we all have idols, don't we? But Kevin Sinfield to me has become a man who you're like,
he's unreal, man.
Yeah, you're just like, you know, put him on a pedestal, and he's one of the only people in modern society, or definitely modern sport, who's earned this pedestal. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he should be put on it. But at the end of the day, like he said in his interview at Old Trafford, like, I'm doing this because, you know, people care, and if we were all a good friend, you know, the world would be an easier place. Stuff like that should be like plastered everywhere, like everywhere, to kids, but it's not. All kids are like being shown is, you know, Ronaldo saying, I think one of Piers Morgan's questions to Ronaldo was, have you got more money or more Instagram followers?
What the fuck?
And he was like, oh, I think it's about the same. And I'm like, look at what this fella's doing because his mate's in a bad position, and show that to kids and be like, that's how you crack on in life.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you anymore.
But I don't think he's actually... The mad thing about it is not one part of what he's doing is for him.
No, mate, he's not on. Like I say, I went away with his good friend Jamie Jones, Buchanan, and we talked a lot about Kevin. He said he's not even on Instagram. He's not on social media.
No, he's not.
He's not asked about any like adulation, or he's just helping his mate out.
His mate's in a bad position, and he's just like took it upon himself to make sure that if his mate's in a bad position, he's going to try and make it a little bit easier for him. And like, I think if we could all take even 1% of that, like 1% of it, we do well. But like, it does, I'm not going to lie, fucking pisses me off that he doesn't get celebrated more. And I'm not saying he wants to be celebrated in any way, shape or form, but it should just happen naturally. He shouldn't have to be sitting here going, oh, we should be giving him credit. He just deserves it.
Mate, for the last 15, 20, mate, we'll just finish off on the old boxing and UFC. Boxing-wise, mate, I seen our favourite hypocrite, Tyson Fury, come out this week and say that Usyk's top of his shop on this for 2023.
He also said in the same sentence, but if he's not going to fight me, I'm going to fight Joe Joyce. But did you also see that do you know how much it is to buy Chisora vs Fury pay-per-view? £26.
Who's fucking paying for that?
Mate, I've said this before. And
are they saying it's sold out?
No, they're saying it is, but it's not, mate. Guarantee you. There'll be some. Do you know the way I've got some really good lighting on me here just to try and make myself look human? That's what they'll have on the crowd, mate. A lot of black lighting.
Yeah.
I know it's packed in here. But yeah, if you pay 26, if you pay to go, you've lost your mind. If you pay £26 to watch it on TV, you've like double lost your mind, because it's ridiculous. Like, it's the most pathetic fight in the world. Those who are on Patreon, we're going to pay for Christmas on that night, by the way. So just wait for that, because we're going to pay for Christmas that night. It's ridiculous fight that I'm telling you now. They know the outcome. They know when it's going to end, and this is one friend doing another friend a favour because he needs some money to bow out the game with. That's all it is. And if you pay 26 quid for the pleasure of watching that, then you need serious help.
Yeah, that was
just stream it. I know you shouldn't say that, but there's so many ways to do it.
Yeah, and there was that I thought was quite interesting. Azim, did you see that? He's been hitting too hard and sparring that he's now having to spar with middleweights.
Mate, he's a freak, Adam Azim. He's fighting on Sunday against Ryland Charlton, who obviously we watched fight Luke Willis.
Really, yeah.
He's just a... You don't know. He's someone that people have always spoke about, but like, you heard whispers about him for a long time in terms of how good he was and where he was going, and the fact that he, you know, not just anyone can link up with Shane McGuigan. So that was a big marker. But for what he's doing now, you know, you're starting to think, God, this could be genuinely something really special. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's quite interesting that boxers are trying to introduce like boxing on a Sunday, which is obviously another little talking point. But yeah, I think he's a special talent, and everyone should really try and get obviously behind. And he ring walked. You never walk alone in Liverpool, didn't he? So I'm sure there'll be a couple of scousers who are trying to support him as well.
You just mentioned then Luke Willis. I seen a tweet he put out saying about basically, you know, this whole thing about boxing saves lives. He said it's ruined mine. Don't know what's happened kind of there, but it's obviously nice to see someone who we've met a few times and, you know, support him at his shows, and to see something like that, it's you got a feel for him, haven't you?
Yeah, I haven't actually spoke to Luke for a little bit since he got beat by Gavin Gwynn. He's obviously, you know, got taken time to sort himself out. But yeah, I think, you know, Luke's always had a little bit of a you know, sometimes, like he said it on the podcast, didn't he? You know, things can be love-hate with boxing at times, but, you know, obviously something has gone on there. But, you know, Luke is exceptionally talented, like, you know, exceptionally talented. It's just that the game of boxing is unforgiving. You know what I mean? It doesn't wait. It doesn't sort of help anyone out. When your opportunity comes, you have to take it, and if you don't, you get left by the wayside, and it's just the way it is. And, you know, I think he's obviously not feeling great about the game at the moment, but I just hope in terms of him as a person that, you know, he's okay, because he's got a family and stuff, and, you know, there's bigger things in life than boxing. But yeah, it's such a shame, because Luke is exceptionally talented, and, you know, I hope that he can keep going, but most of all, just hope that he's okay.
Yeah, no, big time. Is there any boxing this weekend?
Oh, mate, there's loads. There's 4 cards this weekend. Yeah. So on Friday night we've got actually a Scouser, Tom Farrell, who trains at No Limits, which is not far from where we record. A lad I've known since we were very young, from the same area. He's headlining at York Hall against Harlem Eubank, which is a really good fight. And then on Saturday night, obviously, you know, you got the return of Dillian White after getting absolutely. You were there actually, wasn't you? Getting, you know, absolutely filled in by Tyson Fury, but he's taking on Jermaine Franklin, which is, a lot of people are like saying it's a sort of walkover, but I just don't see it that way. I don't know. I don't really know how much Dillian White's got left. If I'm completely honest, like, there's nothing.
I feel dead awkward when I listen to him speaking now, him acting that, you know.
Yeah, I know. I just think Dillian White is, for now, if you're a heavyweight coming up, he's someone that, you know, you could probably think that, yes, I've got to watch out for his left hook. Yes, you know, he's not going to lose the power, but he's very, very beatable now, Dillian White. Like, I think, you know, the only worry for me is that I think if he wins, he's going to get put back in with Joshua, and I think that fight's way past its sell-by date. But yeah, I just think, you know, a lot of people I know he's crazy odds with the bookmakers, but I think if you were backing Dillian White this weekend again, you'd have to have a screw loose, because he's just you don't get. It wasn't the knockout against Tyson Fury that would worry me, because that can happen to anyone. It was the performance. Like, he was gun shy. He was like, I haven't watched it back. I haven't put myself through that, but he didn't really throw a notable punch at all. And you know, I know he's not fighting Tyson Fury this weekend, but once that sort of way of fighting sets in, it's very difficult to shake. You know what I mean? And I think we might have seen the best of Dillian White, in my opinion. But yeah, it'll be obviously good to see. There's a couple of good fights on the undercard, which we'll go over on the betting show, which will be back this weekend. In particular, Fabio Wardley versus Nathan Gorman is a good fight. So yeah, and then obviously you got Zach Parker versus John Ryder, which is on BT Sports, which is again a great fight, a decent little card that we'll go over on the betting show. And then, as we were saying, with Adam Azim on Sunday, so it's a good weekend to be a boxing fan. But I just think there's going to be a lot of talking points coming out of it, because, you know, I can see a couple of upsets, especially in the main events.
Yeah. I've actually, while we've been recording, your brother has just texted me.
Saying what?
Well, I threw it out there to Jord this past week about potentially getting out to Vegas to go and watch Paddy the Baddy. You've declined on it, and your kids jumped on it.
No, he hasn't, because he owes me 50 quid, so he better be sending me that before he goes to Vegas.
He should text me saying, I'm in, lad. Get me flights booked now. Let me know what hotel you're looking at staying in.
No way. No way.
There's a Sportscast exclusive there then.
I'm gonna fill him in. Me bet he hasn't even paid me for that. He owes me 50 quid anyway.
Yeah, he reckons he's coming anyway. So
he's 150 in the red with me, and he's booking flights to Vegas.
He's typing now as we speak. So
tell him I've just told everyone live that he's 150 in the red with me, and I want it before he goes.
So yeah, no, we obviously, when this car got announced, you know, Paddy and Vegas would be special, and we spoke about it, and then the kind of idea died down a bit, and then Paddy texted me and said, he said, "Are you still wanting to go?" And I thought, you know, I just got the fire lit again, so that got me excited. But you said one of the main cards has fell through. Yeah,
mate. Obviously, Prochazka versus Teixeira. It was one of the fights of the year last year. The UFC booked it obviously to round this year out, because it was, you know, stylistically it's a brilliant fight. Last year, you know, Teixeira was actually winning against all odds, and then gets tapped out in the last round, submitted in the last round. So, but Prochazka has suffered a shoulder injury. Dana White said it's like one of the worst that has ever been reported in the UFC. It's going to take like a year just for him to, you know, regain mobility, and then, you know, he'll be coming back out. But I think they offered Teixeira the vacant title shot against Ankalaev. Teixeira for some reason said no. So Ankalaev was already fighting Jan Blachowicz, who was former champ. So that gets elevated to obviously the main fight of the night. And then obviously Paddy, who was co-main, is now co-main. And that, you know, to do that in 4 fights is just sort of crazy, you know, achievement. I think Paddy's created the hype for himself, but I mean, mate, to be like co-main, I know he's not originally co-main, but to be that high on a pay-per-view card at that point in your career is like, you know, it is amazing, really. And I think the other big thing is that he's in a very, very, very winnable fight. So sometimes people get that high on a main card, and you think almost like, although Sean O'Malley's a little bit further on his career, he sort of went and fought Peter Yan over in Abu Dhabi, and it was like a 50-50 fight. He's taken a big step up, you know, sink or swim type of moment. But Paddy's in a massive spot on a card, and he's the A side of the fight. You know, Paddy's a big, big favourite in that fight for me. So yeah, I don't think, you know, to round the year out with probably a massive win on a massive card heading into 2023, where the UFC is coming to London again, and, you know, there's going to be more pay-per-view cards than ever. Just going to be a perfect round of the year for Paddy, like.
Me and your Jay will be there.
No, beds. I can't even focus on this show. I am fuming. Do you know what the worst thing's going to be? And honest to God, it is the worst thing. It's just a WhatsApp for like 4 days of you two.
That is it, lad. Yeah, that is it.
I know. Do you know when you? Oh no, do you know, I've just about to shoot myself in the foot there. But no, you two just have a boss time. I hope you have a great time together.
Thank you, lad. What have we got on this weekend then? Before we end the show,
just boxing, mate. There's the UFC's taken a little bit of not a little bit of a break, but the UFC takes a break this weekend. There's back next weekend and then a couple of back-to-back shows to round out the year. But I do need. Did you see the McGregor thing, mate, on Twitter overnight? Yeah. Oh, lad, he's funny, him, you know.
Yeah, that is the perfect way to end this. So he's basically come out and said, "Yeah, no, I'm happy to jump in the drugs pool, testing and all that in February." What the fuck is he on now? February.
You can test me in Feb. I just love the blazerness, you know. And obviously, at that point, he's just absolutely roasted, isn't he? Like, he's in some, I don't know, one of his mansions somewhere. He's, having a right old party for one. And I think, like, the funniest part of the thing is, mate, is he's put a clip up of when he need Khabib when they were grappling, and in the commentary, Joe Rogan starts going, "Oh, that's an illegal knee," and McGregor like voice records himself and puts it on Twitter, going, "Oh, what are you talking about, Joe? What are you talking about, Joe? You haven't got a clue," and all this stuff. It's just, I don't know what he does or how he gets in the position where he starts having conversations with himself on Twitter.
He must, whether he's pissed or whatever, but then he'll just do like 7 or 8 tweets, and the next day I just go tweets and replies and just look down and just think, what the fuck's he on about now? Who's he coming at now?
And he was calling him. The video he put up of his knee, he was going to call this the Springbok. He just comes up with all random shit. But do you know? Remember I said on Patreon, if I was to spend 5 minutes in your head, I'd tap out. Mate, I reckon you give me a minute and a half in McGregor's and I'm out of there. Yeah, he is a conflicted individual. Him.
I tweeted the other day, though, saying it as much as I want him seeing back, I think he's just gold. He fucking needs to be an idiot to come back fighting the life he's got. You know what I mean? He should just never ever come back to an octagon in his life.
But you can't, because like it's different in boxing, because like it's not the doggy. It's no longer the dog world that MMA and the UFC in particular is. It's like in the UFC, you can't come back and be in easy fights or be in fights where you're gonna get a touch, or like you could maybe be out for 2 years and go, I'm gonna come back and get an easy fight. I know some people will say McGregor got that with Donald Cerrone, but if McGregor comes back now, his realistic opponents are like Michael Chandler, who has got his what would you call him? His weaknesses, but if you give him opportunities, he's going to take your head clean off. Yeah. If it's at 170, he might pull Charles Oliveira up to 170 and do that. Like, there's no one he's going to fight where it's going to be like an easy touch. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and no matter what people say, you can't live his life, have the money he has, spend 10 months of the 12 in a calendar year on a Lamborghini boat with your family, and then just rock up to the UFC. Look on an even lower level, someone we haven't touched on here, but we will when we preview the show. Look at Darren Till. Like, Darren Till was cutting corners and got found out quickly at that level. McGregor can't come and fight people who are at what you'd call like B level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To operate where he wants to operate, you've got to be absolutely like sharp as anything. Otherwise, you will get knocked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one wants to see him. No one wants to see him laid out again. Like, I know, it's only really the Dustin Poirier fight where he's being laid out, but I'm a big Conor McGregor fan. I don't want to see someone who 6-7 years ago shouldn't have been in an octagon with him now laying him out. You know what I mean?
No, I just want him to be the big juiced up Conor living his best life.
I do. I definitely should get juiced up, right? And then somehow get away where he can do a boxing match against like Jake Paul and that, but juiced up.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you know what I mean? So he just comes in like a big rhino.
Yeah.
Did you see your mate John Fury with his top off shouting at Jake Paul and that?
Yeah, saying he could bang Tyson or something.
That'll be RJ in Vegas, that. I could go to the death with Mike Tyson.
You're going to get tethered that week, lad, when me and him are in Vegas that weekend. I'd turn your phone off if I was you.
The whole show's been ruined. I like, if people are listening to this and can hear this 1 hour show has taken serious amount of energy in mind that I didn't have. But when you drop that news on me, that energy's gone, and I'm now dying.
Well, luckily for you, it's the end of the show, lad. So I'm off to go and watch England against the USA in Marbella. So have a great weekend, lad.
Yeah, I will have a great weekend. That one, I hope you enjoy. Vegas, I hope it. I don't know what I hope the car gets cancelled. But even if it does, you still have a boss time.
I know. Right, listen, everyone. Thank you for listening, George. Hope you're feeling better soon, kid.
Thank you.
And we'll see you for Patreon episode on Wednesday if you choose to sign up for £1 a week and not be a minge bag. See you later, everyone.